Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm DunkOrSlam, and this is my Noita Perk tier list. Now, this tier list is made with a decent amount of thought put into it. If anything, probably overthinking it. But I wanted to make a perk tier list that I can recommend to the Noita community as a whole whenever somebody asks me, hey, do you have a perk tier list? And I know nothing about them. I don't know if they played, if they have never played, if they played hundreds of hours. I have no idea. Don't even know the goal of their runs. But when I made this perk tier list, I made it with the goal in mind that they are just trying to win. This isn't about getting a 33 orb win or doing some kind of crazy essence win. No, this is about getting a win. So the reason I point that out right off the start is I wanted people to know why edit wands everywhere I consider the lowest of the second tier. It's not even in the best tier, and it's the lowest of the second tier, because when your goal is to win, while having edit wands is nice, that gives you good offense, really to get a win most of the time is great defense. You can give a brand new player, for example, tons of gold, even a really powerful wand, and they're probably going to die because they don't know how enemies attack. They don't know to stay away from certain explosives. They don't know these things. So I prioritize defense because to a newer player and an experienced player, defense is very valuable. To an experienced player, offense is going to hold more value, but defense can still save them. If you have explosion immunity and a canister blows up next to you, whether you're a new player or an experienced player, that can insta-kill you. So that's why it's right there. Now, the more experience you get, the edit wands, you can probably move it up a little bit. But honestly, for me, after over 2,500 hours in Noita, where I have streamed every win and every loss, I actually bring this down for me personally. I would take this down probably quite a bit. Somewhere around, probably around this range, somewhere around here. Somewhere in there, I don't like, it's hard to say exactly. I had to stare at it for a while. But the reason I bring that down quite a bit is because the game, as you learn to manipulate it in your, you can do more with less. And so with edit wands everywhere, it's a perk where you can edit wherever. But in every run, regardless of edit wands, you can pretty much make it where you can edit your wands whenever you like. You just have to carry them back to the Holy Mountain, because there's ways to keep a Holy Mountain intact, which allows you to still edit them. It's just a little bit of a pain having to walk back and forth. Little tricks like that, as you become more experienced, can make you change your value of edit wands. But again, on a basic run, since you're not going for some insane run, you're just going through the basic, the basic biomes and everything. There's a Holy Mountain usually within like a minute or so of where you're standing. So it's more of a convenience thing rather than a necessity to survive. So, hopefully that makes sense. I know a lot of people, if you see this, especially these newer players, they tend to say edit wands everywhere is the best perk. When in reality, if you're making a perk tier list for everybody, if you are recommending perks to your average Joe, then you're going to put them at a disadvantage if they are choosing edit wands over explosion immunity or over repulsion or over, well, the dice is hard to say. Dice is a gamble, but it's a very good gamble most of the time, if it is one of the earlier Holy Mountains. The melee immunities, like a lot of these will keep you alive. So I feel like some people may discount this tier list because they see that edit wands is everywhere. Edit wands everywhere, or tinker with wands everywhere. Sorry, they used to call it edit with wands, edit wands everywhere. Then they changed the name to tinker with wands everywhere. I just call it edit wands most of the time. So my apologies if you're getting confused on which perk I'm talking about. But I think that you got to be open-minded when looking at this list and realize its goal is to help players win. And once you start thinking that way, maybe some of these perks will make more sense. I don't want to touch on too many of them because it's silly for me to go super in detail on every perk, when in reality we have a small community and most of my community actually saw this perk tier list and helped me create it. It's these people who provided perspectives for when they were newer players. Maybe they've only played 10 hours in the game and they're saying, well, I find I have a lot of trouble with this or that. That helped me also gauge where I'm going to put these perks. Because, for example, fire immunity, I actually personally for myself, I have fire immunity much lower. Because as a higher, like as a player who's played a ton in Noita, 2,500 hours, that's not normal amount of time in Noita. That's an extreme amount. It's silly to bounce the tier list around me, because I put out fires all the time. Like my character's on fire, it's like instant. But to a newer player, that's like a learned habit for me. For a newer player, I can't consider that insta, you know, putting out fire trick. That's something that you just becomes habit because you have to constantly do it. So that is why I have it a lot higher on this perk tier list rather than for a tier list that would be just for myself, which would be, you know, useful to nobody unless they played 2,500 hours of Noita. And if they play that much in Noita, they probably have their own perk tier list because they have their own style of play. Anyways, I don't want to rant on this too much, but again, the very top rank, I just want to touch on these. Explosion immunity, repulsion, dice. I think the repulsion and the explosion immunity probably don't need too much of an explanation. If you watch a lot of new players, if you watch experienced players on Twitch, YouTube, wherever, you'll notice that explosion immunity is probably one of the strongest killers in the game. The newer the player is, they probably gain more value from repulsion than they do explosion immunity, because repulsion allows for a player to see an enemy they've never seen before and have a decent chance at surviving. They're able to see how the enemy interacts, and then they learn, you know what I mean? Like they know, okay, he shoots out a fire trail, it does this, because it doesn't hit them. But as you learn the game more and as you understand how each enemy attacks, from there, you're really mainly concerned about something insta-killing you, something just hitting you and the run just ending. So that's why explosion immunity is number 1, repulsion becomes number 2, as just a general recommendation. From there, I think a lot of these you can tell are mainly defensive perks. A lot of people don't realize that Oil Blood now has fire immunity built into it. I'm not even sure if that's been pushed to the main client yet, but it probably will be very soon. So if you're curious why it's up there, yes, it is for the fire immunity built into it. Also, this item radar, this actually points out items and hearts. So the reason that this is considered so highly ranked is because it gives your player more health, which you're more likely to survive, and also it will lead you to flasks like ambrosia, or it can even warn you of a polymorph flask nearby, because you'll know something's nearby. So you know, like if you're in high alert, you know, because you don't know what it is yet. So it's just all around a defensive, it's both a defensive and offensive. So that's why I bring it up so high. What else? Oh, concentrated spells is another one I feel like I should touch on. This one is important that I say that this may be a bug. We don't know, but it's been in the game for months, and it has not been messed with too much. I only recently learned about it thanks to my community members. Pretty much all that I know about Noita is from my community members relaying information to me, telling me builds that they saw or that they tried out, and letting me know about how useful it was. And this is one that my community came through on. Best Bard specifically and Durium, these two members kept bringing up how great it is, and so I tried it out. And this may actually be the best offensive perk in the game. Like I said, they may nerf it, so as I put this tier list out there, I'll put in the description if there are any nerfs or changes to perks, and then if one day the game is so drastically different and people actually care, then I may make a new perk tier list. But just know that as I'm recording this video, this perk right here allows you to hit for hundreds of damage just with 4 spark bolts in a quad cast. 4 spark bolts in a quad cast. Spark bolt is a starter spell. If you had 4 of them on a wand and you had a quad cast, which will cast all 4 at the same time, they'll hit for like 200 damage. Just one shot, 200 damage. That's nothing. That's like crazy. It's possibly the best perk in the game. I've only recently learned about this, so it's hard to properly value it, but I just wanted to point out why it is where it is. The rest of the perks, again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but if you have any questions or comments, post below. My perk tier list is meant to be for everyone, so it's hard to know with some of these situational perks where to put them, because depending on your playstyle, if you're aggressive, if you're passive, depending on how strategic you are approaching fights, will also, you know, rebalance these values for you. So I can only talk about from my perspective and why I find them useful. But one that I specifically want to talk about is Saving Grace. This is one that a lot of players they value a lot higher. For me, the reason I bring it down here to the situational is because while it can easily be abused and you can keep yourself alive a ton using this perk, a lot of newer players aren't really going to be saved very much with this perk. They're going to get hit by something, they're going to be, they're going to be left with 1 health, and then they're just going to be hit again, and it's going to be the end of their run. So this is one of those perks that maybe the more experienced you are, probably the more mileage you'll get out of it, and the more you'll like it. So that's why I put it at the top of situational. There's not really too many to touch on. Like, I know some people ask, oh, why like freeze field? Why electric immunity? Why are they where they are? I rate these perks off of getting a win, and with this electricity, it has electric immunity in it, but it also adds this variable of chaos where things around you will explode. So yes, you may be electric immune and it opens up the potential for new wand builds, but it also can instantly kill your run because you stand next to a canister in the vault that had acid in it. I just don't like that. I don't want to recommend something that takes a little bit of control out of the player's hands, especially a newer player who doesn't know where to stand. And then same for freeze field. Freeze field is very good. It's got lots of positives. However, the drawback is sometimes pixels get stuck in your character, and your character is just stuck, suspended in air, and you have no control over it for like 30 seconds to a minute as you just mash the keys to try to get your character to unjam. It almost feels like your character is bugging out. I don't like that. So, it's amazing if you're doing something where you gotta jump in lava, but it's just not worth it to recommend to your general everyday player. Anyways, that's my perk tier list. If you have any questions, ask below. I will respond to everyone because we are a smaller community here. It's very easy to keep up with everyone. It's nothing too crazy, but if something happens and there's a lot of questions, I mean, I can make an in-detailed, video where I talk about every individual perk. But like I said, there's no need to go that crazy, at least for now. So there's my perk tier list after 2,500 hours of Noita. Hopefully it helps somebody else out there, and ask away, ask whatever you need to know, and I'm an open book. I love talking Noita, so I'll see you guys later. Thanks for stopping by the channel, guys. Peace out.